Our dear guests, dear viewers, fellow citizens, a good morning to you and welcome back to the Inter-University Debate Show. My name is Sharon Mukisa, your host for this particular episode. Today, our guests are coming from International University of East Africa. Let me introduce them to you. First is Joan Bionanevye. You're very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We are very happy to have you, Joan. Next is Timothy Wafula. We are very pleased to have you on the show today.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, our topic today centers around the credibility of elections in Uganda since 1961, and we are going to be looking at the 30 years of the constitution as well. Now, in today's discussion, we are going to look at the history of elections. We're also going to discuss the factors that have led to lack of credibility of elections, while giving recommendations of what we think should be done best. And as we get into our discussion today, let's first understand the history of how we got here as Uganda. Taking us through the history is Timothy Wafula.
Thank you, my dear moderator and my fellow panelists. Good morning to our viewers. Uganda's history is a long journey, which explains a lot, just starting from political, economical, and social. But our first election was held in 1961, where by that time we are having multi-party system of governance. So the main political parties which participated in that election were UPC, led by Dr. Milton Obote. We had DP, which was by Benedicto Chiwanuka, and DP managed to be the winner. So due to the results, some political parties, some personnel were not satisfied with the results. So it made them to change, because the British were preparing for us for independence. And this made them to prepare us, to make us to be like, who are going to be your leaders by that time, for us to lead the political structure and the leadership structure in the country. So in 1962, again, we saw that we had another election. And this time around, the first election in 1968, Kabaka Yeka boycotted. That was a political party which was representing Uganda's interest. And in 1962, Kabaka Yeka, we see that they made an alliance with UPC. And this time around, it was like UPC had that support from North, from Protestants, and the central region, which was mostly for Uganda. So UPC with Kabaka Yeka, they managed to be the winner, and they took over. So Mutesa too became the first president. Then Dr. Milton Obote became the prime minister. And when we reached 1969, Kabaka Yeka and UPC, they fall out, and it's, some interest. People have their personal interests. When you see that they're not even based on ideologies, but the interests, they're not moving well, they're not matching, so that made them to start disagreeing here and there and so on. So we had a constitutional crisis, and that was 1966, and Dr. Milton Obote had amended the constitution, which was for the colonialists. So when he amended the constitution, 1967, abolished all the kingdoms in Uganda. So that election wasn't so much like nationwide. The turn-up was slow and so on. When we reached in 1971, where Dr. Milton Obote has gone for a Commonwealth meeting in Singapore, and Idi Amin took over through a military coup, seized the power, and this is something which has been talked of severally. That transition of power wasn't through elections, but was military. And by so doing, it made Dr. Milton Obote think wise. He excused him. He wasn't in Uganda at that time. But now we see Uganda being governed by a president who is, because he was the commander of the army, so he was a military guy. So he ruled Uganda through military governance. from 1971 to 1979. That's when both Uganda and Tanzanian military force also made the military coup and they overthrown Idi Amin Dada's government. And we see another election in 1980. This was the election which was organized by a lot of guys. We had UPC, we had the current NRM that by then was called National Resistance Movement, or no? National Resistance something there. So this election had very many people, various people, and so on. Remember, the UPC had fallen out with the Uganda, so they had that minimal support. And then had also Kero Twang. So the result of this election of 1980, the one which made President Museveni to change his mind, also to launch his movement of 5 years from 1981 to 1986, when he emerged to power in January 2026, as we all know. So he wasn't satisfied with the results, and the UPC managed to be the winner amidst of allegation of voter rigging by then. So we see that in 1986, NRM takes power, and 1988 we have 1989. Sorry, we have an indirect elections, like the national assemblies, those guys from different regions, they get the delegates and they come, then they offer, then direct. So in 1989 we had that election, which was indirect, and it was mandated, those people who are in the legislature, we are mandated to make consultation into the general public to find out how these guys are, what's their response about we Ugandans having the new constitution. And in 1962, we see that they came up with a report saying that majority of the Ugandans, they have suggested that they want a government or a representative, a legislative assembly, which is directly elected by them, reflecting the will of the people. So in 1994, we had some election, but it was under one-party system. This one-party system, that was the current, because President Museveni, in his thinking, he was like, multi-party thing causes disunity, causes conflicts, causes that situation of unrest every now and then when we be together and then our ideology don't match, so we fall out, and all that doesn't bring peace in the country. So he offered himself to run under one-party system for a while. So when we had that 1994 election, which wasn't so significant, but all they were trying to prepare the 1995 constitution. So in 1996, we see the first election under the 1995 constitution. This election was done by two significant men, powerful men actually. That was Paul Semogolere, who was a DP guy, but remember that time we were still under one-party system. And the current president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, was also ready. But President Museveni won with something big margin, but Chiwanuka got something like 23%, and Museveni got the biggest percentage. Here we see like the winner, but still, Benedict Chiwanuka wasn't so satisfied. No, sorry, Paul Semogere wasn't so satisfied with the elections. He had some confidence here and there. He alleged of vote rigging, intimidation of the opposition, and suppression of the opposition. So that thing also remained as of the previous election, which have been having from 1961, been that series of voters intimidation, vote rigging, suppression of opposition guys, and so on. That being the first election of our 1985 constitution, so marked like the beginning. It created some awareness in the public generally. My election can work. We have this peaceful way of transition of power, rather than having military coups to people dying, losing what, and so on. So we see like in 2001, we had another election. Actually, this was also a tight race. This time round wasn't Paul Semogerere. It was his friend, his ally of President Museveni, that is Dr. Kizza Besigye, who fell out with him. Then in 2001, he decided to run as a presidential candidate, independently. But still, again, we see Seven again winning, and it wasn't so surprising because by that time had some good structure. President Museveni won with the biggest percentage again, and Dr. Besigye, his main contestant, wasn't satisfied with the results and also went ahead raising the same issue: voters intimidation, vote rigging, and so on. The military force coming to action and getting involved, intimidating people, the society. We had all those things happening at the same time. And in 2005, before we get into 2006, we had a referendum whereby we wanted to bring back again the multi-party system of governance. So I think Ugandans by then they voted majority. I think they were using this symbol of a house and a tree. I don't remember very well because by that time I was still a kid. So we see like Ugandans, from the reflection of the votes, the Ugandans supported the referendum and we again restored the multi-party system. Dr. Kizza Besigye, being the founder of FDC, Forum for Democratic Change, this time around he made the structures and was preparing. Before diving into that 2006, had those allegations, might be rape and so on, was excelled and all that thing of suppressing the opposition side. It was how it was happening.
Yeah. Timothy, given that you've explained to us where we came from as Uganda, the history of elections, I wanted to ask, are there similar challenges that you witnessed back then as you made your research? Are there similar challenges that you witnessed that Ugandans faced at that time and also we are facing currently in elections that are just recent?
Yeah, I must say that there. Because way back from, that is 1961, we had those elections and the DP1, that is Benedict Ochiwan becoming the chief minister. Allegations were there. Like UPC wasn't satisfied with the way the voting was. Okay, we said then in the election of 1962, we see like there's some those excesses in power, those one in power, because that by that time UPC had made an alliance with the Kabaka Yeka, meaning that the Ruchiko in Uganda had more power, had more say. So they accessed more power to the people, meaning that you have to vote. They brought some intimidation into the Uganda society. And also they're like, they're based on religions, that is regional and the religious society. They dominated, so meaning that they dominated the religious society and then the regional society. UPC meet on the vote coming from the north, all the north people were voting for voting. The same thing happened today in the way that right now we have President Museveni, who is from the west. You can't see that western people, most votes, NRM gets highest percentage when it comes to the west. Whereas now the current main opposition right now, that is NUP, National Unity Platform. Bobby Wine Kyagulanyi being the central also tends to have the highest percentage when it comes during elections. So this I draw a line like even way back, Uganda, which was Kabaka Yeka, allied with UPC, which was from the north, they had more support. Same thing right now, central, Mr. Kyagulanyi coming from Uganda, he gets more highest percentage, and also President Museveni coming from the west gets the highest percentage. That's one similarity. We see there is unsatisfaction of the results. Like there is way back is like when you are not satisfied with your results, you run very fast and you you go in the bush, you ring for the second plan B. But right now, since the public has adopted the 1995 constitution, people ran to the court. We see Dr. Kiza yesterday after the 2006, he went to the court. Goes and certifies the results. The other time of 1980, President Museveni, he launched a movement and he went to the bush. We thought that's why he always loves Luwero. Whenever he starts his campaign, he goes to Luwero. He feels like this is his starting point.
Yeah.
So that's the theme.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. You've highlighted for us the history and you've given us common similarities, rather common themes that were both in the elections back then and also in the recent elections today. So this goes to Joanne. What do you think are the factors that are contributing to lack of credibility in elections today?
Okay, thank you very much, our moderator. First of all, I will begin with the Electoral Commission, because everything goes back to the Electoral Commission, and we always have to question it. So we all see that the Electoral Commission gains its mandate to carry out elections, supervise and do everything on its own, so it's literally independent. The Electoral Commission got its mandate in the 1995 Constitution, that is Article 60, that gives it the right to supervise, carry out elections and everything. So when us the Ugandans, we always have questions. Is it real? What we get from the Electoral Commission, is it real, accountable? So first of all, to the general public or me as a young person, I don't feel like we are really represented. A country which has over 75% or 78% of the citizens being youth, and when you look at the Electoral Commission and its structures, we don't really feel like us, the youth, are represented. When we look at the journey of preparation for elections and everything, we don't feel like the most population is represented.
But Joanne, why don't you feel represented? The elections for youth MPs, youths are in the parliament. They have made the system, like the Electoral Commission has endeavored to inspire young people. And someone would say right now, today, you'd find that the youths are more interested in elections.
Okay, so when I talk about us not feeling like represented, I don't mean the seats we have in parliament, because I believe we can even have 60 seats and we are not doing anything. I mean going back to question the accountability of the Electoral Commission. What constitutes the Electoral Commission? What constitutes the process of starting to campaign, putting out the news that we are going into the electoral season and everything? Do we have the youth involved? Are we having youth representatives on the committee? That is what I'm looking at. Apart from that, as the civil society or even the public, you can testify Ugandans do not feel like they are really appreciating what the Electoral Commission does. Let me start with the 2021 general elections. I'm not going to go really far because those are the elections we are trying to compare and question. Are we really going to have credibility? Are we having accountability to the public from the Electoral Commission? You know, this Electoral Commission is appointed by the president, and that is constituted. Yeah, we know that, we appreciate that. That is what is supposed to happen. Yes, there is a reason why they said the president should appoint the Electoral Commission back then. As we see the history, Uganda was really struggling from the colonial rule. We had a lot of things to do, and we had a lot of laws to put. But right now, the question is it really running, or are we still appreciating it that the president is the one that appoints the Electoral Commission? Leave alone that. If the Electoral Commission is appointed by the president, the question is, are they accountable? Who funds the Electoral Commission? Who orders the Electoral Commission? Where do their power stop and where do they have the power? So as the general public, we really do not appreciate. When you look at the barometer survey in 2021 general election, that is 2021, we look at the opposition being suppressed from accessing media, from doing campaigns in some places. It was dealing for COVID-19, and they did not have the power, or they did not have the freedom to carry out campaigns peacefully. We saw them being stopped everywhere and now and then. Well, I must say this time round, we are not seeing that as much as we saw in 2021, but there is a reason. Some of us feel like maybe it's because Dr. Chizadesije is in jail, and we expected him to come back or to make a comeback. And some of us feel like maybe people have realized they are not going to trust the National Unity Platform with power. That is a perspective of what I feel like. But still, we still have that suppression. There are places they go to, and they are stopped from reaching there because they feel like maybe their opponents in those regions are not going to get votes. Okay, they feel like maybe if NUP is going to campaign in, for example, Northern, I'm not going to tag the main areas, but they feel like, for example, if NUP is going to campaign in Northern, the person contesting under NUP and for member of parliament is going to gain some power, and maybe the NRM contestant is going to lose some votes. So they try to suppress them or stop them at some point. So we feel like we really have a lot of questions to the Electoral Commission. We have to question their accountability as they are preparing for the 2026 elections. We question, do the public, or do we see accountability from our village structures? Do our grandparents know what is taking place right now? Do our grandparents know that, for example, Mugisha Muntu is also contesting? Do our grandparents know that Robert Chagrani is contesting? Have they tried? Because I feel like it's the mandate of the Electoral Commission to inform the public that we actually have a candidate so and so. We have a candidate called Robert Chagrani, not Bob Wine. But are they really doing that? Are they given the chance to do that? Or if they are not doing that, why are they not doing that? Because as the public, during the 2021 elections, we saw the barometer still was showing that only 32% of Ugandans were trusting the results from the Electoral Commission, or were gaining trust from the communications from the Electoral Commission. Right now, we see when you go to research and you go online, they tell you that, yeah, the Electoral Commission is really trying to put out information at their website. Come on, how many people know how to go and search a website? Okay, let's say not people, those are the youth, apparently. How many voters? Because in reality, even actually when you're saying most of the youth are being represented, how many of the youth are voters in this country? And who are the voters, and why are they the voters? Because maybe the ruling power, the ruling political party feels like that's where it gains its confidence, not the youth. What if the youth are tired of the president, and they really feel like they want a new president? What is the Electoral Commission trying to do? Yes, they are being appointed by the ruling president, but do they really have their freedom or their independence to carry out elections and not siding with anyone?
Okay, thank you very much, John. I think we shall come back to that question. Well, we understand whether the Electoral Commission is indeed independent. We are taking a short break and we shall be right back.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media, or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back to the second segment of the show today. And where we left off is us asking ourselves a question: is the Electoral Commission an independent body? Taking us through that is Joanne. You had an issue on that.
Okay. Is the Electoral Commission an independent body? From the Constitution, Article 60 of the 1995 Constitution, it is independent. But from our perspective, the Electoral Commission is not independent. Well, we appreciate that, once again, we appreciate that the president was given the power to appoint the Electoral Commission. And we saw there are reasons, apparently, I think it was last week, that one, when we had the constitutional conference, and those people are trying to take us through the whys, because a lot of the youth were asking, why then did you accept that the president is supposed to, gain all this power? But they had the reasons, apparently, from the colonial rule, and you're trying to educate the people, you're trying to bring multi-party democracy, you're trying to bring a lot of things, you're trying to put out our constitution. We appreciate the constitution. It was really a very good constitution by then, according to what was taking place in the country. But right now, we have a lot of questions. The constitution has been amended. A lot of things have been added, and a lot of things have been changed. Even when we feel like during the amendment, it wasn't the right way to go. We feel like it was a lot of power being carried out, and passing the laws and saying this is going to take place, age limit is going to be like this, and this is going to happen. So we feel like whatever is taking place in this country is not right, starting from the Electoral Commission. We feel like the Electoral Commission has a side. We feel like the Electoral Commission has where it gets its funding, and it has to appreciate whoever is funding the body. We apparently see they've tried to put at their website that they are trying to look at a lot of things to gain public trust and be accountable. They are trying to show us that they are looking at a lot of regional things. They are looking at passing out information, doing, emphasizing, educating masses about the elections and why they should go out there and vote their people. But we have less than 4 months to the 2021 elections, which is supposed to take place in January 2026. But we have not seen any of these. I don't know, maybe those campaigns are there and they are doing mass education. But me, from where I come from, I've not had any news. Or me as the youth out there who actually even lives in Kampala, and I feel like I should be having this information. I feel like I'm not getting it the right way. I'm trying so hard to get this information, and most of the information I'm getting is misinformation. So apparently the Electoral Commission does not really have its independence to carry out elections.
I'd like to go the opposite of her point of view.
Or you believe that the Electoral Commission is independent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because when you follow the electoral history of Uganda, how the institution has been working, the Electoral Commission has been given the mandate to organize, conduct, and supervise election. That is Article 60, and also the Electoral Commission Act of Cap 140. The Electoral Commission has the legal framework and the constitutional laws. This legal framework, they have been trying follow, put them in, to implement them, see that they can work. For example, the register update. I think these guys have been using the media very well, the newspaper, the radio stations, the TV stations, to tell the people, like, it's going to be this week, such a particular date. People are going to go and view and check their register and see whether their name are there, cancel those who are dead. That is only gives a picture of transparency. And also that thing, also the laws, because these people are not being certified with the thing, they've been going to the law. For example, when you look at the previous by-election of Kawempe North, where like unsatisfied contender went to the court, and indeed the court ruled out, gave their results. So that means that the Electoral Commission find some irregularities which were mentioned in that incident, but still reflects the fact that they're still independent. And the fact that they have been updating those registers, and Electoral Commission felt like it is not enough. They involved the parliament where they enacted the laws, and also some MPs to tell their people that they go and update this. So the Electoral Commission has tried, it itself has worked really hard to see that they're independent, asking the money, like 623 something billion for them. With the fact that they have that money, they feel like they can conduct free and fair election.
Timothy, given the fact that you have talked about Kawempe North, you remember what happened in the Kawempe North elections? There was voter violence against the people that wanted to vote.
Yeah.
There was a lot of intimidation, and we saw military. We saw the JAT squad. We saw new military groups that we were not even aware of before. So we saw new military involve themselves in a civic election. And they were shooting at people, they were shooting at the media, some people lost their lives. And the Electoral Commission came out and said that they had no say. They also were not aware that the military was in the area. So would that mean that the Electoral Commission is still independent if it cannot take hold and accountability of the actions of the electoral process that's going on?
Firstly, the Electoral Commission doesn't work alone. Actually, organizing an election is a system which involves a lot of body, institutions, and the general public at large. So, the Electoral Commission has this institution like the judiciary, the parliament, and so on. The security forces, that's the police and the military. But then, we also have the Electoral Commission is affected. When you try to look into the challenges the Electoral Commission face, it is like the manipulation of power. Those who are in power, they tend also to involve in. And we all know that Kawempe not being in the urban area, the opposition side has more support. So the one in power, that's NRM, the one in the regime, they also try to show, to legitimize the both domestic and international. They also have some support when it comes to urban centers. By doing so, they end up using those security forces, the military ones, the JAT. We saw some people coming out, even praising, being proud of it, like we are the one who have done that, and so on.
So if the president is proud of what he has done, don't you think he has power over the Electoral Commission? He
has power. According to Uganda's constitution, there's nowhere which says that the president should not appoint the Electoral Commission structure. So there's no way we can do that. Maybe when we go back and amend the constitution, that the president should not appoint the leadership structure of the Electoral Commission, maybe it's the parliament to do so, maybe the judiciary.
Okay, Timothy, before we get to the appointment part, I would like to understand, like you've explained to us, that the military was involved, and it's because those parties, or the political party in power, is the one that stated that they should be, or ordered that the military should be involved in those elections. So does that mean that that political party that is in power right now has power over the Electoral Commission?
When you talk of power, is another stuff. Let me say, because power is like, when I tell you do this, you have to do it. You don't have to resist. But that's not the case, because Electoral Commission also has their constitution, rules and regulations where they follow, and then the rule of law. So if that they have power, I believe we couldn't be seeing the opposition leaders contesting, because I don't think whether the current regime would wish to see these other political parties coming contest. Anything can happen. So that election may go in the election and someone loses. Like, we have a saying that history repeat itself. So you may go there and then someone may not be satisfied with the results and also launches a movement and goes to the bush fighting the government, because the regime can't be happy when someone is contesting against them. That's why I don't think Electoral Commission is independent. If you see these young people, I'm sorry to say this, who were who got those forms and they want to also to contest against for the presidential seat, most of them they were not able to do things which makes them to be there. Reason being, they didn't use their actual time very well. Time matters in life. The Electoral Commission was very independent. It gave each candidate the real time to go and look for those signatures, 100 days in 140 plus districts. So it was independent. It didn't schedule that this political party are going to use this particular time to go and look for the signatures. It was really independent. And with the fact that they have not been like the president, they have not been nominating him from maybe in the State House. He's also been coming, getting some delegation to go and pick the forms and so on, take back the forms. That point also signals it out that it is trying to be independent, actually. And also, like the Electoral Commission itself, it is trying to engage in those civil societies. For example, the last election of 2021, we had European Union observers. They came in. So it brings that they are trying to be democratic. They are trying to show that picture of democratic structure in the country. They are not preventing those guys from outside also to come and follow our elections. Another thing is that the fact that the Electoral Commission has tried to bring out the dates, the schedule. Their calendar is open to everyone. When you go to their website, they can show you. And also that even people are appreciating the parliament. I was surprised like the opposition leader, was like, we appreciate this time around the security forces, they're not involving more like in 2021. So that one alone brings the evidence that they are indeed trying to be independent.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll still get back to you on the same. But Joan, I would like to understand, you talked about the appointment of the chairperson of the Electoral Commission and saying that it's the president that does so, and therefore that whole process is discredited. What he does after that is discredited, and that is why people have lost hope in the Electoral Commission. Am I right? Okay, so I would like to pose a question. Don't you think that the people that the president has appointed to be in those seats, don't you think they are credible people? Don't you think they qualify? Because I don't think the president would appoint someone that does not have the qualification, that is not worthy to be in such a position.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Let me first go back to what Timothy has said. First of all, the Constitution states that the Electoral Commission has the power to supervise, carry out elections, organize, supervise, and carry out elections independently, regardless of whether any NGOs or civil societies have to be part, but the Electoral Commission is supposed to be independent. So if people come to question how a certain elections were carried out, or okay, let me not bring that current elections. Let me come to what happened recently during the NRM primaries, especially the youth elections. It was so evident, it's so varied everywhere. You go on TikTok, you go on Google and you search, you will see evidence. The Electoral Commission was there. People were lining up, and they give them money to vote. When media is there, when everyone is there, that is voter bribery. Is it supposed to be allowed by the Electoral Commission? The Electoral Commission was questioned everywhere on X and other social media handles. They didn't come out to say a thing.
You mean there were videos going around?
Showing people giving money in lines during the youth elections. Was it the right way to go? Is voter bribery allowed in democracy, or how we conduct elections in Uganda? Or are we supposed to be given money to vote? Maybe
No.
I don't know that it's not voter bribery. So I feel like still it is the Electoral Commission that is supposed to be questioned on whatever takes place during elections. So let me go back to my question now. Do we feel like the president appoints the right people or the qualified people? I'm not saying the president appointing is wrong, but I am saying after appointing, we examine, are they getting the independence they are supposed to get to carry out elections? Or after the appointment, they have to go back and, you're reminded you have been appointed by me. Or before the appointment, there is that discussion. We say democracy starts with dialogue. Or maybe there is always a dialogue between the president and the people they appoint. Let's look at, okay, I will always go back to what he has said. One, we are seeing the military and police not getting into these campaigns as much as it was in 2021. But why? I take you back to, we saw how they were allowed to take civilians into military courts. We saw how everything changed. The fact is they were preparing for these elections. And that's when I take you back to, do they really carry out the mass education to educate the public and tell them, you know what? This is supposed to go like this and this. Apparently, this is happening because of this and this and this. No, they do not do that. So you find the public is not aware of what is happening. And they chose to be like, okay, the president of Uganda, OA, you get.
Maybe
so
to put a point of action somewhere.
Yes.
I feel like the thing of civic education can be even carried out by the political party and the candidates itself. Doesn't need the electoral commission, because the electoral commission just organize, conduct, and supervise.
Timothy,
So
let me
to
cut
be
you short.
supervising.
What is organizing?
Organizing
Is
Yes.
preparing for elections. After the 2021 elections, the Electoral Commission is supposed to go back to public and see their faults and see where they went wrong and start preparing for the 2026 elections.
Timothy, a minute. Timothy, if I'm to get this right, you don't believe that carrying out civic education is a role of the Electoral Commission?
Yes, it is, but the electoral commission can't do everything.
It is supposed to do everything. It is independent. Let me show you the civil education I want them to do, or I expect them to do, is them getting people, like, for example, us, the youth, who are unemployed. Yes. We go back to our villages because we have grown up from there. We understand how our parents operate. Go to local councils maybe. Go to our districts. And, they organize a date and they're like, today this village is going to have this kind of learning. They educate the people that this and this is supposed to take place. It's the Electoral Commission, they are supposed to give presidential contestants money to carry out campaigns. But most of them get this money after a long time. They wait for them to fast fade in carrying out their campaigns and they give them the money. So that is how they do their things. That is why us, the civil society, come out there and say, you know what? These people are not independent. Why are they delaying to bring the money? They had 6 years to prepare for that money to be given to those people on time.
Recently.
So if they were qualified, I believe they were qualified before the appointment, because I believe there is a board that sits. It's not only the president that will be like, during the constitutional conference, we were told how the judge was chosen and everything. It is supposed to be the president, okay, they nominate 2 people, and the president appoints the chief judge, and he is not supposed to appoint the second runners-up, his runners-up as the deputy. But what did he say? He said, this one is the deputy. You know, you're just commanding, and that's it, and no one is questioning you. Even if they are questioning you, the Electoral Commission is not coming out to say anything. So those are the things that give us the doubt to say that, you know what, the Electoral Commission is not independent.
Let me tell you one thing.
So Timothy, let me understand from your point of view that you say that the Electoral Commission cannot do everything. What do you mean by that?
As I told you, like we have some civil societies, both domestic and international.
So are you inferring that the role of carrying out civic education should not be with the Electoral Commission, but it should be with the civil societies?
It should not be with the Electoral Commission alone. Yeah, because we have some civic societies.
But
For example,
let me
Do
also
you-
ask you before her,
Okay.
it being independent, which percentage or which credibility are you giving the Electoral Commission and the other civil societies to carry out those campaigns and mass education?
Okay, let me first bring it in this way. In the year 2016, we had a domestic civil society called Civic, because you could even feel their impact on TV. You could hear top power everywhere, on the radios, on the TV. So that top power thing made even a old person, our elders in the village, hearing on the radio, top power, be like our man. But then we are voting in February. In February, we have election. But this time around, I can't even feel it anyway. Like
And why?
the civil societies,
Okay.
they're not, there's no any civil society which has come up. Right now, the Electoral Commission is very busy. Let me tell you one thing. They have to plan for about the time they're going to run the country, how they're going to do the population. You relate the previous turnout, 18 million plus, they turned up. This time around, what do we expect? This time around, we are seeing the youth they are trying to be active in these elections. So we expect more turnout. We live on that thing. Also, the candidates, they have also teach their people, their political parties. You see, National Unity Platform, they have some leadership schools somewhere, I've forgotten. They have some leadership schools. That's what the civic education is. They also, they see their responsibility to teach people about power. They always think they take a thing of Mamvuli. So that everyone should be aware. When you see Mamvuli, tick, tick, tick. That's not the civic education. So the Electoral Commission would not come. For them, their thing would be like, when you tick, don't tick out of the box. They make sure like is inside the box. When you take outside, that is invalid. And also the Constitution gives the right, like a person who is unconscious or elder who can't write can use that thumb or not. And that only that it gives the Electoral Commission as being lenient. You can even, when your grandmother is sick and she can't see very well, you can go with her and you take for her. That means as just try to bring that transparent, being independent. So does that also need like the Electoral Commission to go down? That first of all, they don't have that structure. They don't have the number of people in that structure which can move across the country.
Given the fact that, Timothy, given the fact that they've issued a budget, so don't you think they can use the budget to employ people to go down there and do that kind of work?
Recently, they've been even complaining about the funds they get. And they have some challenges they are getting. They don't have even the permanent headquarters. Okay. Yeah, that's why you see them here at Ninja Road, you see them around Natete. So they're facing those financial challenges. So when you add on another
thing, thank you very much. Let's hear from Joanne lastly.
Okay. So mass education means a lot of things. Apparently, I understand 70% of the people understand how to vote, how to put that in. What am I meaning? Years have gone, generations have changed. We have a lot of different issues that we are facing as a country. What do I mean by mass education? Okay, from the NRM primaries, what are they doing? We had too much defaults. We saw voter bribery. What are they doing about it? So now let me show you.
Please let her
finish what
up.
I expect the Electoral Commission to do from that. I expect the Electoral Commission to go out there and teach our grandfathers and our sisters in those villages, that when you are given money, we actually have that video going on, but it's apparently that video is given by people who have gone to leadership school. I've been at the Netherlands Institute. I know you've not seen that video because it's with the UN and stuff. So they made a movie to show what goes wrong when you are not voting the person that is really right. When you are voting for money, when you're voting for sugar, when you're voting for soap, how will you get medication at the end of the vote? Because that person was getting money from where? That's why the Electoral Commission is actually coming up. Me, I'm not saying it's wrong everywhere, but yes, it's coming out to say that now they're going to question where people are getting money for campaigns and blah, blah, blah. But are they doing that? Or it's just written and, passed, and we are like, okay, let's wait for what is going to happen. And we are watching. And the campaigns are already ongoing. So I expect them to go to the villages and teach our parents and be like, actually, Joan and Timothy are contesting on the same seat. We are seeing Timothy has the money. Joan has the money. We don't know where she's getting the money. She's coming, she's buying us soap, she's buying us sugar, she's giving us 200,000 Ugandan shillings to vote. And we are like, may I go with that one who has given me what to eat? What to eat on that day?
Okay.
The next day, we're not going to.
I get you.
The next day, there is no indication. First way, after the election, that person or John who had the money does not have the money. They have to go to parliament and do what? I expect them to do that education. I do not expect our political parties or me as a contestant to go and teach people because they do not have time to listen to that. Generations have changed. People do not have jobs. So when they see a contestant, when they see an MP, they see money, For them, everything now, elections have become money. It's the campaign season, I have to put my wedding because the MP will come.
No.
Okay, let me let Timothy respond to that and we shall be closing.
Now, I agree with her, the voters' behavior towards the political decisions have actually adjusted from way back up to now. Right now, very few people, they are listening to ideology. You get. Ideology is like, what are you going to do? You're talking of change. But now, which kind of change are you talking? Even on those things of hate speech. He took this, you guys have wealth, you have oil, but you're not benefiting it. Now, what's the problem making people to go with what she's saying? When you give me soap, when you give me money, I vote for you. Those are people who are poor. Okay, I'm sorry to use that. Those who can't be able to sustain their life in one or the other. But when you come to that thing, when someone is considering ideology, like, no, this guy has been like a leader somewhere, I've really seen his impact. Such a kind of a person who has that perception will not be easily moved with that thing that what you're giving, because it's like you're telling me, when you give me 50 and then you go sit in the parliament for 5 years, that 50 is my vote is not worth 50k, you get. But a person, if you come like, man, I'll make sure that this road which joins us from Eastern region to the city, I work on it, everyone will be benefiting. So when I come back to she's like, bring the voters' behavior. The Electoral Commission is not teaching them, the voters, like, don't just vote randomly. But again, the Electoral Commission can't be in those people's minds and tell them, whoever brings money, reject. That's fine. It is actually malpractice, voter bribery. It's not accepted. So it is upon the public, the voters, when you see someone giving money, at least take a video. At least record something, have some evidence. There's courts. I told you the Electoral Commission is helped by the institutions like the judicial. When you go to court and bring that evidence, of course those guys will sit and look into the matter and give their judge. So the Electoral Commission has that judicial which can help that matter. So the public, also the people, also have to be responsible, not just see the thing and sit down then you'll be like, is the electoral commission to come and tell us not to go with someone and give a new man?
Okay, thank you very much. That has been our show for today. Our guests, Joanne and Timothy, have been in a heated debate. We cannot wait to see and read your comments in the comment section down below. What do you think? Is the Electoral Commission really an independent body? I have been your host, Sharon Mukisa. Until next time.